Okay. Oops. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at so power, good at something, energy, physically strong, motivation, skillful, the one who is especially good in it, use power and force. Okay, good. Capability. Okay, now it seems to be working. Excellent. So yeah, and a strength is a positive asset or attribute. So capability, good. So all students have strengths. So that you could have different strengths based on different things. And it could your strengths might depend on your gender, they might depend on your socioeconomic status, they might depend on your culture, they might depend on if you have a disability or not. It depends, everyone is different, so everyone has different strengths. Does anyone know what strengths-based teaching is? So you can put it in the chat box or tell me, what is strengths-based teaching? Does anyone know? So think of the word strengths and teaching. So what might it be? You can guess if you don't know. Good teaching? Yeah. I would say it's an example of good teaching. So if we're talking about how all the students have different strengths, good. Knowing students' needs and wants, yeah. Yes. Teaching styles based on the quality of students, good. Playing games, teaching loudly, maybe. So strengths-based teaching is that focusing on positives instead of negatives leads to better outcomes. So you identify your students' strengths. What are your students good at? So as a teacher, you help your students see their strengths. Yeah, so understanding about it, knowing the student's strengths and focusing on it in teaching. Good. So teachers create courses that help students build on their strengths. So you get them to improve and use their strengths in the classroom. So there are 5 principles of strengths-based teaching. So these are measurement, individualization, networking, application, and development. Okay. So I'm going to read this, and I want you to then tell me which one it is, which of the 5. So good teachers use data to inform how they teach. Using the strengths-based approach, teachers should collect data on students' strengths in addition to normal data about grades and class behavior. As teachers, we know that many things affect student learning. It is more than just taking notes and studying hard for a test. Students' motivation and overall well-being affect how well they learn. We should work to measure and monitor these things so we can help increase them. So which of the 5 is this? Which one? So measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development. So which one? Okay, good. Measurement, measurement. Yes, excellent. It is measurement. So this is an example of measurement. So you should collect data and information to figure out your students' strengths. Good, measurement. Okay, next one. Teachers should tailor the learning experience to each student's individual strengths, needs, interests, and goals. So each person is individual. Teachers should help students recognize their own strengths. From there, they can help the student make goals that align with those strengths. Students will take more ownership of their learning and understand how class activities are helping them reach their goals. It is also helpful to give students options. Students' choice greatly affects their motivation. Students will be more engaged and motivated to complete an assignment that allows them to use their strengths. So which of the 5 principles is this? So measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development. Okay. Individualization, individualization. Excellent, individualization. Okay, good. So yes, it is individualization. Next one. When students recognize their own strengths, they can start to use these strengths in interactions with other people. Teachers should empower students to use their strengths when working in groups. For example, a very organized student can help an unorganized student understand what to do in an assignment. That unorganized student might be good at speaking to groups of people and could offer the organized student public speaking tips. So people work together. So which of those 5 is it? Can you remember? See if you can remember for this one. Okay, good. Networking, networking, networking. Yeah, so networking. Excellent. So you are correct. It is networking. Yeah. Strengths-based teaching should be visible. Teachers should use their own strengths when they teach. In this way, they model a strengths-based mindset for their students. Teachers should also create a culture of strength in the classroom. When students provide each other with feedback, make sure they always start with comments on what their peers have done well. So which of the 5 is this? Can you remember? Okay. Good, correct. Application. So it's excellent, application. So recognizing strengths is not enough. Strengths can become weaknesses if students assume they will always be good at the same thing. Students cannot just reflect on their strengths once and then forget about them. It is important for students to revisit their strengths. Students should develop a growth mindset. Their abilities will grow when they intentionally work to develop them. So growth mindset, how can you get better and better and better? Which one is that? Which of the 5 principles? Good. Development, 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 development. Excellent. That is correct. Development. Development. Good. Okay. You will see a situation on your slide. So it'll be an example of one of the 5 principles. Complete the poll to choose a principle that is being described. So you'll have about 1 minute. Maybe longer, we'll see, because you have to read it. So is this measurement, individualization, networking, or application? So at the beginning of each new unit, the English professor presents the new class goals and objectives to the students. After reminding the students of their strengths, the professor asks each student to write down an individual goal for the unit as well. So the hint is individual. So you have 5 more seconds to answer. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we'll stop there. Okay, so individualization is what was chosen as the most common, and that is correct. So they each have individual goals. Each student has their own goals that are different from the other students. So individualization. Okay, second one. Is this an example of measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development? At the beginning of each new semester, the mathematics professor asks her students to fill out a questionnaire about their well-being, motivation, and strengths in math. She uses the data collected to design class activities and assessment choices. So is that measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development? Okay, 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. So the majority chose measurement, and that is correct. Excellent job. Next one. Is this measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development? So each week, students reflect on what went well in their chemistry lab. They keep their notes in a journal so that they can compare their strengths from week to week. The professor meets with students once a semester to reflect on their growth. How have they grown as students? So measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development. Two more seconds. There we go. Okay. So the majority chose development, and that is correct. Good. Okay, next one. is this an example of measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development? So students in an advanced composition class frequently write essays. As part of the drafting process, they conduct peer reviews. Each student must start their review by complimenting their partner's work. It is an important part of the culture of the class. The professor also makes sure to comment on students' strengths every time she gives feedback. So again, is this measurement, individualization, networking, or application or development? Okay, we'll give you a few more seconds because not everyone has answered. Okay. Okay, so let's look back because we got kind of the same answers for networking and application. So let's go back and look at the definitions. So networking, so remember, is when students recognize their own strengths, they can start to use these strengths in interactions with other people. So teachers should empower students to use their strengths when working in groups. For example, a very organized student could help an unorganized student understand what to do on an assignment. Oops. So that is networking and application. So strengths-based teaching should be visible. Teachers should use their own strengths when they teach. In this way, they model strengths-based mindset for the students. Teachers should also create a culture of strength in the classroom. When students provide each other with feedback, make sure they always start with comments on what their peers have done well. If we go back. So here it talks about culture and focusing on what they did well. So this is an example of application. Okay. Next one. Is this measurement, individualization, networking, application, or development? And so when assigning groups, the history professor takes each student's strengths into account. One student is good at research, another at design, and another at editing. The entire group performs better because of each individual's strengths. Okay, 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so good. Excellent networking. So in groups, you will create your own examples of how to apply each principle. So like this here, think of how you can apply these principles in class. So use the Pear Deck to record your ideas. If you have questions or technical difficulties, you can email us info.het@gmail.com, or there's a help button. Let me just see. So it'll be, how can you measure students' strengths? How can you individualize activities to match student strengths? How can you apply the principles of networking in your classroom? How can you create a culture of student strengths in your classroom? So work together to answer those questions. So I'll put it in the chat box. Oh, just 1 sec. In the chat box, and I'll put everyone in breakout rooms. So let's do 3 breakout rooms. Okay. And you will have 10 minutes to work on this. If you need more time, I can give you more time. Actually, let's say 15 minutes for now, because we still have lots of time. If you finish early, you can come back to the main room. But you have 15 minutes to work on this. Kathleen, would you like to start the music? Awesome.
Screen share.
Does someone want to share their screen? And then you can discuss. You'll have to unmute yourselves.
Screen share mà Teacher.
Zinmarth Wall.
Teacher.
Yes.
Or teacher screen share
My
we don't
connection unstable, so I have to use with mobile phone. Oh, teacher, it is not okay for me to share screen, teacher.
Okay.
Okay, I will share.
Okay. Okay.
Share bỏ làm gì nữa?
So discuss.
Copy on Samaro.
Question မေးတိုင်းလာလို့မှာတော့ချင်းဟိုဘာတွေရောမသိလိုက်ရင်ချင်းပြလိုက်မျိုး grammar တို့ပါတော့လေ
SMW လေ့ကျင့်ဟုတ်
grammar rule လို့ဘယ်လိုပြောမလဲ grammar စစ်တာကြတော့ဘယ်လိုပြော
làm thì xem vào được chất lạ
ဟုတ်
ok trên
Okay, let's look over some of the answers. So how can you measure student strengths? So remember, this is about data. I asked the students to write their assignment. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could maybe try and pull some data from that, but it might be a little bit difficult. It is important to understand that each student has their own strengths. Yep. So yeah, collect data, questionnaires, interviewing each other. So I think those are all good ways of measurement. Ask quiz questions, let them answer multiple choice questions. Good. Sometimes I ask for some questions to individual students. Sometimes I watch how they perform in class. Good. Just think about how you would collect that data. How are you going to measure? We can use paper surveys to measure student strength. Excellent. Okay, next one. How can you individualize activities to match student strengths? Weekly, the students are asked to write essays. Yeah, if they each can kind of choose their own topic, that could be an example of individualization. If each essay is different, in order to know their different educational backgrounds, we need to probably be more pre-tests, or we can make some questionnaires. We also need to know what they want or what they need. Yeah, so you need to match to maybe their backgrounds and what they want and need. Writing essays and assignments, good. You could individualize those. Introduce themselves, yeah, so get to know each person as an individual. Talking impromptu, again, you can find information out about them. Presenting their interests, good. Give them assignments as a writing activity, good. So you can make those each individual and let them do presentations during the class. Yeah, again, you could let them choose a topic and present about it, or a topic within what you're teaching. I can individualize activities by asking them to do projects. Good, excellent. How can you apply the principle of networking in your classroom? Group presentations, yep. We can make some activities in order to make familiarity between active and silent students. Peer activities and group activities and poster competitions are good networking. Good. And yeah, you can think about people's strengths and weaknesses and pair them up in the group. So if someone's very active, someone's very quiet, maybe pair them together. I give them group work for presenting some topics. Good. So group work, pair work, role play, group presentations. Yeah. So again, think of some of your students' strengths and weaknesses. Who can you group together? What are the best kind of groups to make? Doing group discussion and pair work activity. I can apply Google and Zoom meetings in my classroom. So maybe you can do some breakout rooms, get the students to interact and get to know each other and their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, good. How can you create a culture of student strengths in your classroom? Okay. Okay, students are different, and so their abilities and background knowledge is also different. In order to use their strengths, peer activities or role play activities are good. Yeah, so you could do some peer activities, debate discussion. Let them do picture, strip, story, and role play activities, and give positive feedback to their students. Good. So good, yeah, positive feedback to each other, focusing on communicating in the classroom. What are your strengths? If one student notices something that another student does really well, complimenting them on it. So to try and focus, have your students focus on each other's strengths as well. So ask them to collect the data in the class. That might be a bit more measurement, but maybe if you did it as a whole class somehow, possibly. Okay. How can you encourage students to develop their strengths? Speaking practice, frequent individual presentation and group presentation assignments. Yep. focusing on their skills, practicing their skills. Yeah. Giving feedback, their work and performance, and discussing with them after each and every lesson is a good way to encourage them to develop their skills. Good. Yeah, feedback is good. Giving someone feedback helps them grow and learn better. So if you can give them feedback, or they can kind of maybe self-evaluate in some way, so then they're thinking about how can they grow and improve. By giving them motivation and positive asset and mindset. Yeah, so mentioned a growth mindset. How can they get better and better and better? Encourage them not to worry about their weakness and to try their best. Yes, focus on their strengths, improve their strengths. How can they get better and better? Excellent. Okay, so you can type in the chat box if you want, or just tell me. Oh, now it's loading. Why is strengths-based teaching important? Just to kind of review, why is strengths-based teaching important? So can you tell me, why is it important?
I think strength-based teaching is a systematic teaching. Before we teach the student, we need to know student educational background, what they need, and how can we give their needs. Is the most important reason before we start a teaching. And in here, strength-based teaching, it is similar with measurement.
Yeah, so measurement is one aspect of it, definitely.
Yes, I think strength-based teaching is systematic teaching techniques. So strength-based teaching is important for students and teachers.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I think it is a good way to have the 5 principles and actually be thinking about them. So that does make it quite systematic.
Yes.
Although flexible, you still have to be flexible with it. Oh no, my chat box. I'm just going to stop sharing. Oh, there we go. Now it's, I keep having difficulties with my chat box for some reason. Okay. There's some answers. Because it is effective teaching to get familiar connection between students and teachers, because students learn more from their interests. The more they interest, the more they learn. Yeah, so their strengths helps the students pay more attention and helps to get active and effective teaching and learning. Yes. Okay. So how well do you understand strengths? Oh, there's another one. Can give chances to know whether the student's skill improve or not. Yeah, and it's a good way to help them improve. So you can see how they improve, but it helps them improve. So how well do you understand strengths-based teaching? So not at all, somewhat, and extremely well. So how well? On the count of 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, excellent. Oh. To give motivation, mindset, personal traits, abilities, and positive assets. Good. Okay, so I will send the course feedback form right now, but I will also send it in an email. So here is the feedback form. So you can fill it out now, or you can fill it out after I send the email. And in the email, I will also send an invitation to the Google Classroom. The Google Classroom has all the slides, all the videos, and all the activities from the different classes. So all the facts in this teaching technique can create a familiar teaching learning atmosphere. It also combines individual and networking, which are really effective for learners. Definitely. Next week's topic, we're going to focus on student motivation. And also there's a syllabus in the Google Classroom if you would like to take a look there. And these are our resources or references if you want to take a look at more information on the topic. Okay, so thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
If you have a question, you can just type it in the chat box or ask me. I'll wait for the next 5 minutes. Or Kathleen, you can also ask Kathleen. Bye-bye.
Good night, teacher.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think unless there's any more questions, I'm going to end it. So thank you very much and bye-bye.
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 Goodbye.